top of the hour.
That's okay. We'll begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. And we pray to Mary, the intercessor, the one who was there at Cana, who intercede for them and for that young couple who never embarrassed them, but who's with us always, because Mary will always take care of her church. Amen. Amen. Anyway, I want to, first of all, thank all of you for being here tonight. I think it's important. I don't think there's another parish in the diocese who is doing this, but that's regardless. We are a parish community that is always very focused on our parish mission. And therefore, tonight we want it to be a very positive, constructive way in which we can heal the church, not only in the United States, but throughout the world, okay? So last weekend, not this past weekend, the weekend before, an incident happened where a person from this parish was placing signs on the grounds of St. John the 23rd, along with the signs on the grounds of the Renaissance, and I believe even at Walgreens. Anyway, they were incorrect. They were not correct one bit whatsoever. Many people were very hurt and upset by these signs. They were not correct information, and they were there. And a lot of people from the parish were misinformed and were very upset by what took place. So therefore, I want Jennifer Engelman, because Marcy, who is the manager at the villas, is not able to be here because of health reasons. But I would like Jennifer Engelman to explain to all of you, so that you can be the connection with other people who might be misinformed as to the process of the application at any one of our villas apartments. So Jennifer, please come up and explain to all of us the process, how it works with the villas, as well as how it works here at St. John the 23rd.
Thank you, Father. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. What I'd like to share with you, there is an application process for anyone that wants to move into the villas, which is a HUD property, as Father said. So the first thing the applicant does is fill out an application. Along with that, at that very point in time, once they submit it, there's a credit check and a criminal background check done. If there's anything on the criminal background check or the credit check that indicates they do not follow in line with which HUD facilities indicate a resident needs to have, they are not accepted, they are declined, and that's it. So now let's say they pass that first test. They fill out the application, their background check is fine, and their credit check is fine. Right now, there's about a 3-year wait to get into the villas. Can you believe that? And when that time comes up, if there's a place open for them, they, at that point in time, are sent through a credit check and a background check once again. So this is done before they move in, and then it is done yearly. So they are checked again. There's a whole list of misdemeanors, felonies, but it has to be a conviction. And that goes in line, and Father suggested I also share what we do here at our parish for employees and for all volunteers. What we do is there's a couple of forms to complete, and if you ever call me to volunteer, I'll say, well, there's a couple of forms to complete. Volunteer application, in addition, a good moral character form. Then I have you come in and meet with me. We go through the volunteer processing next step, which is the online registration for a fingerprint background check. We make an appointment for you. You actually get your fingerprints taken, and it's run through FBI and FDLE, which is Florida Department of Law Enforcement. So you're cleared at that point. The last requirement is, as all people in our diocese, is we attend the Safe Environment Training class. It's about a 2-hour class. It talks about who do you contact, what do you do if you see something that looks abusive for our children, for vulnerable adults. And one thing that always comes out of the session is, who's a vulnerable adult? Aren't we all? Right? So The Safe Environment Training class is put on by the diocese. We all go through it as employees and volunteers, and it gives us that additional information that we need. So that's what I have, Father. I hope that covers what we wanted to talk about tonight.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And we implemented this at least 11 years ago when I first came to the diocese, to this parish. We went over and above what the diocese required. And we said that everyone, no matter what ministry they're engaged in, everyone has to go through the safe environment, fingerprinting, etc., through the diocese. If there is ever a question that HR from the diocese raises, we will follow through with that. And there have been a number of instances where someone had a background that was perhaps not good, and we could not allow for them to be active in ministry. As hard as it is, we had to do it. That's part of protecting our vulnerable elderly and our children as well. To be perfectly honest with you, I have to say that this is probably the worst experience in my 40 years as a priest, having to deal with all of this. But put that aside, we are a parish community, and that's our purpose, is to protect our children and to protect our elderly. And we have to do that every step of the way. That's my and our responsibility, to protect everyone who's engaged in any form of ministry. And that's my absolute guarantee as a priest, as a pastor, whatever. We have to protect each other. That's the purpose and the point of the church. So that being as it may, we will open up now for questions that Mike and Al have put together from all of you who have had the opportunity to place some of your questions on those index cards. I'll try my best to answer them as appropriately. So if there are any questions, please put them down on your index cards, and let's answer them as accordingly. Okay? Hey, Mike.
Need my glasses? Father, a few years ago, there was an issue at St. Francis Xavier. It was covered widely in the new press. Whatever happened? Was it covered up?
I think I need more detail. I need more detail, to be honest with you, Mike. I don't know. A lot of these questions are not filtered through our parish. They're filtered through the Diocese of Venice. So some questions I may not be able to answer because I'm not privy to how they were dealt with by the diocesan officials and by that parish. So to be honest with you, I hope they were dealt with appropriately, and I would think that they were, but I'm not. It's not us.
As St. John the 23rd had a claim, charge, or an allegation of any kind of misconduct against it.
No. 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 Anytime there's been when we go through the safe environment, if there is any question with regards to fingerprinting or safe environment, they have to go through that. If there is an issue, it goes through the diocese. If there's a problem, it comes back to me, and I have to go back to the diocese. And in several cases, I have had to eliminate individuals from experiencing any form of ministry because of past history. Painful as it is, sometimes I have to have that person come into the office and have to say, I'm sorry, but we cannot have you engaged in this ministry because of past history. It's a painful thing. Some of them go back, way back, 40 and 50 years. But it is what it is. And my purpose and my point of being a pastor, I have to adhere to the regulations of the diocese and past history and to protect our people. So yes, there have been certain incidents, individuals that have had allegations about certain things. They are not able to participate in ministry.
Would you elaborate more, please, on the issue at the villas, the unfortunate incident with the signs?
Sure. That was an unfortunate incident that happened a week ago Sunday. It came to my attention while I was in the narthex. Someone from this parish, I will not name that person was putting up signs along wherever, I have no idea exactly because I wasn't out there, but they were there around the villas, the church, the Renaissance, and I believe even Walgreens. This individual was placing signs there. Now, they were not correct, okay? This person was misinformed, okay? The individual who lives in the village there's an allegation. He was not arrested, and this individual took it upon herself to place these signs that a pedophilial priest was on the grounds of St. John the 23rd. It was wrong, and to be honest with you, quite sinful. Because this person never came to me and asked from the get-go, who is this, what is this, whatever. This person put it upon her own signs that this person was a pedophilia. Wrong. That is an accusation, defamation of character, quite honestly. There was an allegation. There was no arrest at all. And this individual is an 83-year-old individual who lives there. And so therefore, what are you going to do? What am I going to do? Throw him out? First, and then the other thing is, as Jennifer pointed out, a person who applies to the villas, it's not under my jurisdiction. I do not accept nor reject anyone who goes into the villas. It's completely government owned. We sold to the villas, to the government, 3.5 acres some 8 or 9 years ago. It's completely separate from our parish. Completely separate from me. I have no involvement as far as who's accepted or rejected from the villas. This is an 83-year-old individual, and it was an allegation, not an arrest.
Thank you, Father. In light of the recent Pennsylvania report, should we have to revisit our security and safety practice that we use here at the church, especially to assure that our new parish life center continues to be a safe environment?
Okay, several years ago, someone broke into our poor box, okay? And it happened here at St. John the 23rd, maybe about 4 years ago. Anyway, but long story short, since then, we locked the doors of the church after the 8 a.m. Mass. If someone wants to come into the church to celebrate or have some reverence before the Blessed Sacrament, they have to come to the church office. They have to give us their license and their keys, and we will escort them over here. They are monitored, as everyone is monitored, with cameras, okay? So since then, we've spent a lot of money on different cameras in this building. You're on camera right now. Okay, so we have cameras throughout this building. Now, for the future, and even on the doors of the back here of the social hall, we have the security there that people cannot come into this church building when we have children here for, especially for Sunday morning Mass, when we have the liturgy, the word for children. This entire building, as well as the parish office, are being monitored. We met with individuals from the Sheriff's Department, and they gave us some guidance about 4 years ago about securing the parish office as well as the parish building itself. In the new building, there will be, and there is already, secured areas. No child will be able to walk through the building and go into the social hall and vice versa. We have placed from the get-go absolute security in that new building as well as this parish building that we are presently in. There are cameras throughout this entire building. We spent a lot of money, let me tell you, a lot of money, which is good, but we want to make sure that everyone is secured, whether they are a child or an elderly person, it doesn't matter. We are very concerned because I don't want some person going down the hallway and going into the restroom and having some serious problem. So we are, and have been, very concerned about the security of our vulnerable elderly and our children.
This question is asked this way, Father. Can we make more of an effort to get more young parents with children? It seems the balance here should be better than what it is. Possibly a separate meeting. I take it the question means at this meeting we should have more young children?
Young parents.
Young parents? Okay. Sure.
And I know that Chris Beal, our DRE, does a great job with her teachers and our parents, teaching them about if any children are in Mass and want to use the restroom, that they have to go and be escorted. We don't want children to be alone. Chris, am I right on target?
And we will, at the parent meeting, the first parent meeting, we will address this. And again, we review our policies of our volunteers that are, how they are screened, and how we lock the doors, the safety of it. So that we review, and it's also in their handbook.
A couple years ago, we had an incident, and I was celebrating Mass, and this one particular person went over to our desk and asked, when did the children go on to the playground? Now, this was really, really wonderful. A father, a parent, followed this guy into the restroom and asked him some questions, you know? And it was really good because this guy knew there was a problem. Now, I'm in the church. Our youth minister called Jennifer called Holly, and we were on it like right away. So this guy was in the restroom asking this particular potential problem person why he was there. And we informed the police department immediately. And unfortunately, we couldn't find this guy, but he was gone. So we, as a parish staff and others, are very attuned to watching any potential problem.
Father, are all clergy required to complete training in recognizing and responding to abuse allegations? Are those clergy mandated reporters in the state of Florida?
Every church official, priest, whomever, we have to go through safe environment and fingerprinting every 5 years. Every 5 years. So every priest who is accepted into this diocese and comes to this parish has to go through safe environment and fingerprinting to make sure that we are all in compliance.
This is a marvelous question, Father, and I know that you've heard perhaps Bishop Aaron respond to it. Why would the good Lord allow this sort of thing to happen? Such an evil thing to happen. I
wish I knew. All I know is that Jesus himself did the cleansing of the temple. And I think right now we are going through the cleansing of the temple. And that's okay. And that is good, and it's healthy. And I think Francis, our Pope, said we are dealing with an open wound, and we need to cleanse. We need to cleanse those who abused and those who have covered up. And they need to be accountable, and they need to go through the legal system as well. And I certainly support that as well. And any priest or bishop or cardinal who is covered up, they need to be accountable, and they need to follow through the process with the judicial system, which I'm glad we are doing. This is a tsunami. I truly believe this is a tsunami that is happening in the Catholic Church, cleansing, and it's going to continue. It's not just going to be Philadelphia, I can tell you. It's going to be Chicago, Milwaukee, Los Angeles, LA. Eventually, it's going to be Venice. This, folks, is not going to end today. This is going to go on for a few years.
Say that a person is rejected for ministry. Are they still allowed to attend Mass and function here?
Yes. I had an individual who had been arrested, who was a pedophile, and so forth. Anyway, to make a long story short, was I supposed to reject him from coming to Mass? No. Would I allow for him to be involved in any ministry? No. Was he monitored? Yes. And I spoke to him, I spoke to his family, I spoke to the diocese, and I spoke to the sheriff's department as well. And so everyone was involved with that whole incident. I could not reject him from coming to liturgy and sitting, but monitoring him to receive the Eucharist. So in answer to that question, who am I to judge the person who may need Eucharist? It may be the beginning of healing for that person. However, they are not to be involved with any form of ministry whatsoever. We have to monitor that person.
A legal question, Father. Regarding accusations about statutes of limitation, and there are accusations which are beyond the statute of limitation, what actions could the church take to prosecute perpetrators? What does canon law have to say about such allegations beyond the statute of limitations?
Well, I'm not a canon lawyer, okay? So all I can say is that any of these kinds of accusations I have to take immediately to the diocesan office, to the bishop, and to the HR department, because I don't know where we go with some of these things, because I'm not a canon lawyer. Richard would be better, but I'm not a canon lawyer, so all I can do is if there is an allegation made, I have to report it immediately to the diocese. I have to right off, there's no question. And I do. And when there's ever been a situation that's been brought to my attention, I do bring it right to the bishop's office and say, this has come to my attention.
You have referenced children and elderly as vulnerable. Do we include in our focus non-senior adults that are vulnerable due to developmental issues as well? From mid-age but has some other problems?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, this is not just a child or a vulnerable adult issue. This is everyone's issue. Everybody, anyone who's got an issue that's been brought to my attention, I have to bring it right away to the diocesan officials and say, this has been brought to my attention. For instance, there have been situations in the past, I think I might have referred to it before, but whenever a person is wanting to get involved with any ministry in the church, they have to go through safe environment and fingerprinting. If it comes up negative, even if it was 40 or 50 years ago, and the diocese comes back to me and says, Bob, this situation took place in World War II. I have to come back to that person and say to that individual, I'm sorry, but I cannot have you engaged in any form of ministry in this parish. You may attend Mass, but I cannot have you involved with any ministry.
Hard as it is, it kills me.
Father, just let me handle this one, will you? Joanne and I have talked. Governance of the church needs reform. Future revelations will show canon law guided the decisions made by the hierarchy, and more shame may still result. Please let folks know of a fine organization that since 2002 has been supporting priests of integrity, aiding victims and calling for reform. Transparency and accountability are needed, and more lay oversight. That organization is VOTF, Voice of the Faithful. See John Holt for more information on VOTF. She's raising her hand. Thank you, John. Father, here's another nice one. As parishioners, how can we encourage priests who are faithful to their calling? What can we do to encourage more of that?
Whew. That's a tough one. I think the support is that we have it here at St. John the 23rd. Saji, Lawrence, and myself, my deacons, we feel incredibly supportive of the parishioners of St. John the 23rd. No matter what is happening in the church, the support has been overwhelming and enormous and incredible. It's been a terrible time for us as clergy. We are sickened. We are sickened by what's happened. We are dismayed. We are troubled. It can sometimes have an impact on our spiritual or vocational life, but it doesn't destroy us because we realize there's a bigger picture that is part of our vocation, and that is that we were called to be shepherds. And a shepherd cares for his sheep, and a shepherd will always lay down for his sheep. That's what a shepherd does. Even though we've been impacted, we're dismayed, we're sickened, we're disheartened. Everything that is negative that you feel, we feel. We feel as priests. Am I getting off the track? No. Okay. We are sickened by what has happened just as you are. However, we are also encouraged by the sheep of our parish who continue to stand with us and behind us and are always and have always been with us. Yes.
People would like you to explain further why Jesus is allowing this to happen. He's allowing it to happen so that good can come of it through the actions that you all will lead to see that it gets cleared up at some time in the future. Father, you want to add to that?
He cleansed the temple. You know, he took out whips and he was angry. And that's a side of Jesus that sometimes people are shocked by. But he was angry at the abuse that was taking place at that time in the temple. I think Jesus is right now angry and he's cleaning out with a whip that which needs to be cleaned out. And I'm glad he's doing it, to be honest with you. Why? Because it is his church, he established it, and most importantly for me and Saji and Lawrence and Father Angelo and Father Tony,
our focus as with you is that most important in our faith is that we are committed to the Eucharist. We are not going to let men who've done terrible abuses destroy our faith. We're going to let the church in her own way, deal with it. And I hope to God she does, and I know she will, and she has to. But I'm not going to let all this crap that has happened and is continuing to happen destroy my faith, and I'm not going to let my faith in Jesus be destroyed. My faith is the Eucharist.
Thank you, Father, for that testimony. The answer to this is very, very clear. The question is, how do I as a team know that if something were to happen, that my allegation and accusation would be taken seriously and not disregarded as false in this parish? I think you've just heard it for the last 20 minutes. Why? You can rest assured that will not happen in this parish. Ladies and gentlemen, I suggest that it may be time for us to consider getting ready for our prayer service and adoration service. Take a couple of minutes, Father, to get changed. So we'll start maybe in about 10 minutes, the adoration service in the church.
And before we finish, I just want to thank Mike, our president of our parish council. He's a great guy. Mike and I and Al and Mike Navarro met this past weekend to kind of go over things and to discuss issues. And I just want you to know, one, first and foremost, I appreciate your coming tonight. I appreciate your questions. We appreciate your support as priests. We're under the gun, and it's not always easy to wear this anymore. I can tell you that. People have said things, have made certain suggestions, and sometimes this represents something that people are very angry at. I wore it tonight because I am proud to be a priest. I am proud to be a servant, a shepherd, and I work with two great men as priests, actually, including Angelo and Tony, and who are retired. But it is an absolute joy amidst terrible times. It's an absolute joy to continue to be a priest. For me, 40 years, this crap is not going to destroy me, nor my ministry, nor our parish. We are a parish. We are a parish who care about each other and watch over each other and will always be together, because, as I said from the get-go, I will not walk ahead, I won't walk behind, I'll walk with, and so will Saji, and so will Lawrence. We will walk with our parishioners. We are going to be fine. We are going to be fine in this parish. We are going to be fine in the Catholic Church. The jaws of death will not prevail. And Jesus said it, the jaws of death will not prevail. And when he hung on the cross, remember what he said about the soldiers that put him on the cross. They just don't know what they're doing. And I keep thinking of that so often, that these men or women, whomever, they just didn't know what they're doing because they were sick. But we have to pray for them too. We don't want to put them out and kill them. No. The church is always about mercy. And what does Jesus say in the scriptures? Mercy always prevails over judgment. So even though there are many men who've done terrible things, and we are all angry and hurt by what they've done, we got to pray for them too, because they're sick. And we have to remember that pedophilia is a sickness. It's a terrible illness. So we got to pray for them, but we don't want to tar and feather them as well. They're still God's children, and we have to pray for each and every one of us. So anyway, I'm preaching. Okay. But I won't preach anymore. I just want to thank you all. We're going to go into the church. We're going to have a prayer service. We're going to have the anointing of the sick, because we want to pray as we are with the anointing for those who are suffering spiritual or psychological or any physical ailment. And we're going to pray also, when you get anointed, pray for someone. When you have your hands like this, pray for somebody out there who needs healing. And that's what we are all about. Anyway, I got to get dressed. Amen.